Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to a Monday morning live stream. Decentralized science is popping off, guys. Hopefully you guys are as excited as I am right now. We're gonna have a quick live stream today because I have a lot of stuff going on, but I promised you guys I would go live to talk about Dynex and all of the different things that are going on in the DeSci market right now. We have a very interesting week happening right now. There's many different pre-sales, there's lots of money flowing, and I hope you guys are amped up. I hope you guys had a good weekend as well. What is this little star next to your profile, C90? You got the #1 creator or fan spot. Let's go. All right, looking at Bitcoin right now, we are sitting very perfectly range bound here at $118,000 per coin. So the longer we spend here, the better, because we're building up that momentum to push higher. If you can use your imagination a little bit, you can probably see that this box that I have drawn here could also go like this, right? With just a wick above and a wick underneath it. But I kind of like it as a downward shaped box, a descending box here with a clear support line here at 117.5. So for Bitcoin, I'm expecting us to continue to go sideways here until we get a decisive breakout. Hopefully it is not here at this line, but rather a lot sooner. Either way, it doesn't really matter because the rest of the market is having time to breathe and catch up when compared to Bitcoin. If you go look at Ethereum over the weekend, yesterday actually, we saw Ethereum go all the way to 39.38, which is pretty outstanding. A little bit of a pullback here in the last couple of hours, but we are getting a clear uptrend still, which is perfectly aligned for alt season. Everything is looking gorgeous for alt season. Bitcoin dominance had the bit of a bounce going on. Now it's starting to bleed again, but finding support here at 60.7% dominance and trucking up just a little bit. We'll see if it can build support here and go higher, or if that is the entirety of the bounce on dominance. If we go to the daily, we'll probably see it a little bit more clearly. You can see that we bounced, got rejected from the 200-day moving average, and are now coming down again. Hopefully we can continue that downward momentum and not have a repeat of what happened last time we got that bounce, when we bounced, got rejected by the 200, found support, and went higher, and that ended up being the extent of the decline on dominance. It would be really beneficial to everyone here if it continued to go down. Let's go. The gun show. Dynex pump, and Patrick brings out the guns. LFG. Let's go. The stars of membership. I think it means I've had it for a while or something. Let's go, C90. W's in the chat for C90. Good afternoon, Wild Africa. What's good, David? Welcome in, C90. Now, why all of you guys are super excited is because Dynex, despite now officially having turned the daily candle today red, we saw it spike all the way up to 9 cents. Over the weekend. This morning, actually, it was up at 9 cents. And that is a stark difference from the bottom we formed here at 2.5 cents to go from a $2.5 million market cap all the way up to a $9 million market cap in the span of about a week and a half. Dynex is finally coming to life again, and we have a lot of different things to talk about as for Dynex, because there's been a lot of cool updates. A big part of the reason that it's pushing so much is because of some updates with their room temperature quantum computing chips, or simulated quantum computing chips. Regardless, it seems as if they had a big breakthrough with those, and everyone is starting to get super excited. It also appears that a lot of the miners who were mining Dynex and just immediately dumping it got out of the market when it was so damn low, meaning the malicious actors who are just here to harvest from a protocol's liquidity, they seem to be gone. They seem to have stopped, at least. We're also going to go over the economic model and what it might mean once they get these chips out and going, and the QD-LLM, the quantum diffusion large language model, up and running on Dynex. It appears that the uses of that AI, that large language model on Dynex's network, are going to drive an absurd amount of buybacks over the next couple of years. So things are looking really good for Dynex. I posted about how it was up 100% in the last week and 200% from the bottom, and people are like, yeah, but it's still down 99% from the 10. And I think it's just a lack of understanding of how investing works. Literally doesn't matter what it did do. All that matters is what it's about to do. And it's pretty damn clear what's going on with the chart. It's about to / is in the middle of absolutely breaking out. Now, if this rally can continue or not is up for debate, but simply posting it's down 94% from the peak is a absolutely idiotic thing to say, because unless you held from the peak all the way down, it doesn't matter. And if you did that, that's on you. That's a stupid thing to do regardless. You don't jump into stuff at peaks and ride it all the way down and then complain that it's not up enough. You get into them after they've crashed a good amount. Now, I got into this one before it was done crashing, but at this point, we're probably right around my cost basis on it because I continued to buy and buy and buy and buy and buy. You don't just buy once and then cry as it goes down. You buy and buy and buy and buy and buy until you're at a point where it's not like that. Now, I will say this is not a clear breakout yet, right? And that's a little bit crazy of a thing to say given that it's up 200%. We're above the 200-day moving average, which means we're above all of the moving averages, but we have yet to build that out as support. And this was just a double bottom here on Dynex. We had the bottom back here in May and then another bottom here at the midway point in July. And we've broken out to be above the previous high here, so it does have the potential to form a clear breakout, but what I would want to see ideally, obviously, is just a straight line up, but that's probably not going to happen. What I would like to see is us build out support here for a week or two and then continue moving higher, right? That would be a very clear uptrend for me personally. We'll see what ends up playing out, but I'm excited. I need to clip that "it's down from the peak" voice. Oh, God. Yeah, I thought about that right as I was saying it. I was like, I probably shouldn't do crazy stupid sounding voices, but so be it. What's good, Talkerid? Welcome. Speaking of Talkerid here, we have another pre-sale that's going on, which honestly I should mention for a moment, but then I want to get back to Dynex because there's still actually a ton of different things to talk about with Dynex. But currently speaking, on DAOs.fun, we are seeing a sale go on for, where's the name of it? For Eternal Labs. So Eternal Labs is going to be launching compounds on Pump Science, and it is someone who's in the community is talking to us, right? He's been chilling it in the community for a few days because they have the sale going on right now. You can see that I contributed, or committed rather, 3.03 SOL to this raise, just for transparency's sakes. Zach here has committed 3. We got Grav here, who is the team lead for Big Farm AI, committing. Big Farm AI has got 10 SOL into it. So a lot of decently sized names getting into this right now. I think it's worth committing to. They're open to the party round right now, and it appears that they are almost done with the fundraising. So waiting for a creator to start the trading on it. If you guys have not yet, I would definitely recommend going for it. At least I have. I'll give you guys the link to it. Control C. I don't know if this is the correct, I think there's some sort of referral link mechanism going on with it, but it doesn't really matter. If you guys want to get in, feel free to get in. It looks like it's going to be an interesting one. Again, they're going to be launching compounds on Pump Science. Starting tomorrow, I will be attempting to go live at 8 a.m. to go live for the launch of the molecules on Pump Science, but hopefully I don't sleep through it. I won't sleep through it. I'll make sure that I'm up and ready to go for it because it's going to be very interesting. Lots of molecules getting launched on Pump Science starting as early as 8 a.m. tomorrow. So stay tuned. Be here with us live. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on the live stream as you join in. We have a celebrity in the chat. We have Yeti in the flesh here. The flesh being the live stream chat. Let's go. Let's go. How excited are you, Yeti? How excited are you to see Dynex finally getting a bit of life breathed into the chart here? In big part because of the Apollo chip that they've been talking about for the better part of a year at this point. It is now coming to fruition, supposedly, by the end of 2025, which is right on par with what their goal was. So if they do actually manage to pull this off, it is going to be the quantum feat of the decade. A room temperature quantum computing chip, a physical probabilistic qubit room temperature circuit. Excuse me, got to be politically correct when speaking about this. 1,000 physical qubits is wild. And you can go ahead and read through this entire thing if you want to in order to figure out exactly how it's working. But the main point here I want to bring to everyone's attention is the quantum advantage here. All right. So I'll give everyone a moment to speak their minds in case you want to say anything before I start reading this, because this is pretty heavy. That's the overall goal, and we're working like mad to make it happen. Good. Let's go. Good morning, Sarah. Welcome in. Berberines, the next 100x. Let's go. I think Sarah's launch is going to be the next 100x. It's going to be a great one. We got another community member launching something on Pump Science. Let's go, baby. Send these. All right, so from my understanding of all of this, right, before I read this part, you have regular traditional computing. You have true 100% quantum computing. Regular traditional computing is pretty damn good. The actual full-scale quantum computing is incredibly powerful, but because of how erratic photons and electrons behave on the quantum state, as smallest physical measurement that you can possibly take of them, they're very erratic, so they're hard to control, which makes it almost impossible to scale appropriately right now. So what Dynex is doing here is creating a probabilistic entanglement of simulated photons and electrons, right? And by doing that, they get kind of a hybrid approach of the two that allows them to scale with simulated or probabilistic qubits, which allows them to just do the quantum algorithms in a regular traditional type environment, which allows them to just scale like crazy with much more computational efficiency. So the quantum advantage. Entangled seeding introduces supraclassical correlations. Paired probabilistic qubits fluctuate jointly, which is what I just said to you guys, right? Paired probabilistic qubits fluctuate jointly. Biasing sampling towards low energy configurations, this non-local linkage, rooted in the quantum mechanical phenomenon of entanglement, allows the system to exhibit behaviors that classical probabilistic models cannot replicate. Classical computers can't handle this level of computation, such as instantaneous state dependencies across spatial separated probabilistic qubits, the entangled qubits, effectively simulating quantum tunneling effects in the classical domain. Absolutely crazy to think about this kind of stuff. And the quantum tunneling is when they just go through the barriers, which is why the circuits don't work at the quantum state on regular computers. In QUBO terms, this reduces required samples by orders of magnitude as correlations enforce dependencies matching the Hamiltonian's structure. Now, I don't know anything about Hamiltonian structure, and I know probably like 3% of the stuff that I'm reading, but I'm reading it to you guys for you to make your own educated decisions on. Favoring opposite spins in anti-ferromagnetic terms. The expected reduction in search space due to entanglement is 2 to 10x for small problems like n of 10. Effective states explored drop from 210 to 100 to 500, scaling in orders of magnitude for larger systems by focusing on correlated subspaces. Now, that was a lot of words, a lot of things, and Yeti can be here to give you guys any answers to questions if you guys have any of them, but I liked this analogy up here for everyone, right here. So the analogy here between regular computing, quantum computing, and what Dynex is doing is as follows. The analogy is that if qubits are like quantum particles in a superpositioned dance, probabilistic qubits, which is what Dynex is doing, are classical dancers choreographed by quantum music. Both enable probabilistic outcomes, qubits through wave function collapse and probabilistic qubits through stochastic flips, but probabilistic qubits achieve this with classical hardware stability, meaning you can take the effectiveness of a quantum computer and the quantum algorithms and run them on a classical computer. Now, because we already have millions and millions of classical computers out there, arguably there's probably billions of there's definitely billions and billions of classical computers out there. You can not have to worry about scaling the hardware infrastructure for quantum computers as much. You can just immediately adopt some of the characteristics of quantum computers within a classical environment and just run the algorithms to get that boost. Now, eventually the quantum computers will be ready to scale, but like the CEO of NVIDIA said, that's probably like 20 to 30 years from now that they'll be ready to scale. So Dynex is taking the programmability of it, keeping it in Python, and allowing for people to use that on a classical computer, which is astronomical, absolutely crazy. And this kind of article, probably paired with what I'm about to show you as well, to do with the miners of Dynex, is likely why we're seeing such a big push. Now, we got this, and I don't know where exactly it came from, but someone in the community here, let me make sure I give them credit. Guinea in the Discord posted this several weeks ago. Arguably, it might have even been months ago, honestly, that Guinea posted this, talking about when miners might end up capitulating. Let me get the actual date for when he posted this thing. February. So he posted this in February, all right, in the Discord. And then he just brought it up again here today because it has a line in here that says, at what price do miners fully capitulate? And it's right around here. Yeah, here we go. Final takeaways. Miners in Russia are currently operating at a loss but have not fully capitulated yet. If Dynex price drops below 0.026, even the most efficient miners in Russia will shut down. The final Dynex mining completion is estimated for early 2026, but if miner difficulty rises, it could extend into 2027 or later. So if mass miner capitulation occurs, the mining timeline could shorten due to lower efficiency, lower difficulty, making Dynex easier to mine. But if you go back to the chart for a moment, where did we kind of bottom out? Right around that 0.026. And like I said, he posted this in February, which was up here at 10 cents. And so whoever was doing the research on Dynex noted that most of the miners that are just mining the coin and dumping it would be out of the chain, move on to the next thing once we saw that capitulation. And lo and behold, that is exactly where we double bottomed. Went a little bit lower than that, but ultimately it didn't really go any lower than that. So I wish I'd paid more attention to that when that piece of research, when it was first brought to our attention. But either way, it's in the past now, seemingly. Current mining rate is 27,000 Dynex per day being mined, and 9 million remains to be mined at the time of this, which was February. Dynex will be mined in the next year, so February 26th is when it seems to be done. Launch for Compounds is now on 31st, no longer on 29th. Their team needs a little bit more time. Okay, good to know. I'll go talk to them again, I guess. They told me explicitly it was going to be taking place tomorrow. So I'll see and report in the Discord or the Telegram, both of them, when I get a confirmed date on that. Does that mean the chart goes up now? Well, it is very, very likely that the chart can move up from now on, but but we don't know for sure, right? We just don't know for sure. Another thing I wanted to bring up here was, if we go to Dynex, and like I said, anything can happen, but I would assume that most of the capitulation is over for Dynex, meaning we can start going again, especially if they continue to get closer and closer to the launch of their Apollo chip. When the Apollo chip goes out, it's game over. Dynex is going in a straight line up. Whenever the Apollo chip goes out, it's going in a straight line up. Another thing to pay close attention to has to do with, maybe I need to go to a different, maybe it's on a different thing here. Hold on, give me a second. It had to do with Dynex and the mining. Was it mining though? No, it had to do with the QDLLM. Oh, it's in the Discord. It's in the Discord. All right, let me pull up the Discord. Let me put it over here. All right, so another thing here was from Sumi here. All right, so this was April 13th. While this is no means a prediction or a promise, but it's worthwhile to extrapolate some calculations to identify the impact of usage on utility and value. For example, consider a scenario where Dynex has $500,000 in monthly subscription revenues, out of which 45 to 50% go to buybacks. 16 million monthly jobs, whereas each job requires 2 cents worth of Dynex equivalent for gas, which is an absolute realistic scenario and within not that much of time. In that scenario, 200 to 250 Dynex, $200 to $250,000 worth of Dynex buyback purchases from subscriptions, and $320,000 worth of Dynex fees purchases from usage, 500,000 jobs monthly from the QDLLM prompts. Okay, that part right there is where I want everyone's attention to go. Let me read it again because I feel like I read it in kind of a weird way, but $320,000 in Dynex gas fee purchases from usage, which would be roughly 500,000 monthly QDLLM prompts. Now, I don't know if you guys have played around with LLMs and creating AI infrastructure, but let me give you guys a frame of reference right now. Bill, which is for all intensive purposes, just to level set with everything, Bill right now is using nowhere near as much as some of these other people would be using for prompts, right? Nowhere near as much. And he uses roughly 10,000 prompts a month. Bill is not using nearly anything compared to some of these other players out there in the space for LLM usage, right? So imagine if you get a handful of large projects building on top of QDLLM, on top of Dynex's infrastructure here. If Bill is using 10,000 a month, you need 50 bills in order to get to the 500,000 monthly QDLLM prompts, which would put you insanely elevated in these, right? At that point, you're looking at monthly purchases of Dynex in the hundreds of thousands. 200 to 250,000 Dynex buyback purchases from subscriptions. Think about that. That is a lot of Dynex being bought back every single month off of this. And that's off of a very small amount of adoption. So I think it's worth paying attention to that. Now that the miners seemingly have capitulated, it looks like it is time for the party to get started. Let's see if there was anything else from Dynex in here. No, that's about it. The other thing, though, that we didn't bring up yet, but that I could bring up if I wanted to, was the debt relief bot that I told you guys about. It's currently up about 150 or roughly 120% from when we brought it up on Friday, I believe. So if any of you guys jumped into debt relief bot, congratulations, you just made a double up, and it looks like it's going to continue moving. Remember, this is Grok's meme coin. Grok, the AI on X, made this. Now, he used a different protocol to make it. He didn't just go launch it. Someone else made it, but Grok came up with the idea for it. And it was an automated process that made it. So keep in mind. The investor, when I have the prototype, we should do a video. I am so down, Yeti. You have no idea. Steven says, when chip? We're working for an end of the year to have our prototypes ready. Let's go. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think the whole thing will be absolutely phenomenal whenever it does happen. Whether that's this type of stuff, you don't worry about how long it takes. Genuinely. You just sit and you wait for them to come out with something. Because whenever this does happen, whenever this chip does come out, it's game over for any speculation on it. It all becomes a complete reality. It's not just trust us, bruh. and you go look at competitors like D-Wave, which I know we talk about a lot, up crazy amounts over the last year, from 85 cents up to $18. D-Wave is about a $5 billion company. Dynex is currently sitting at $7 million in market cap. I don't know if you guys can understand the difference here, but that's a couple orders of magnitude larger D-Wave is than Dynex. If Dynex comes out, launches a chip that operates at room temperature that is significantly stronger than any other chip that exists, remember, for every additional qubit, the processing power doubles. It's game over. It's game over. And then they have the AI, the LLM infrastructure ready to go. People immediately jump in and want to use some quantum computing infrastructure. It's going to be beautiful. Beautiful. Better not win in bear market, sir. No, here's the thing though. With this kind of a news beagle, it supersedes crypto. It supersedes crypto. There will always be people with money, and people with money want to get into the next big thing, right? Obviously, I hope we're not in a bear market when cool news happens, because the impact's going to be less for sure. But this is something that's much, much larger than crypto. All right, guys. I know that it's super early. Gonna dump my Ondo for Dynex. Let's go see Ondo. I know it's a bit early, but I really need to get back to working. I need to get Bill up and ready to go. Ondo at $1 again. Bullish. I love my Ondo stack. And we didn't even talk about any of the other stuff going on. I just really did a little bit of pump science and Dynex. But Research Coin's about to get listed on Coinbase, in case you missed that somehow. So that caused it to pump from 43 million up to 80 million. It's on a quick push here up to $250 million in my opinion. And honestly, I would not be surprised if we see Research Coin go significantly higher here in the next couple of months. But I need to get back. I need to finish the infrastructure for Bill. The dashboard's looking amazing. If Pump Science delayed the launch for a couple more days, that's awesome, because that means I have more time to add in some extra features and let everyone start using it before the launches happen. But I need to go back and start finishing that up. Your time is your most valuable asset. Hopefully this is worth investing it into. I will be live again tomorrow. If Pump Science is doing the launch tomorrow, I'll be live for the launch. If not, I'll be live at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time as usual. I will keep you guys posted. Let's get ready to shill the fuck out of Bill, guys. Shill Bill. Shill Bill. I've been talking to KOLs, and I am going to be proposing a withdrawal from Bill's treasury in order to pay for some of these KOLs and to pay for a lot of the expenses that have been incurred on developing out Bill and a lot of these features. So just be ready for that. It'll probably come this week that I submit the proposal to you guys to take that money out to pay some of the fees with it. But all right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.